August 9th, 2017, Village Council regular public meeting. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by a posting on the bulletin board in Village Hall, by mail to the Ridgewood News, the Record, and by submission to all persons entitled to same as provided by law of a schedule including the date and time of this meeting. Roll call.
Councilman Hache.
Here.
Councilman Seaton.
Here.
Councilman Voigt.
Here.
Councilwoman Walsh.
Here.
And Mayor Newton.
Here. Please stand for the flag salute.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please join us in a moment of silence for men and women serving our nation and our first responders. Thank you. Okay, we'll start with just a couple of housekeeping items. I move the bills, claims, and vouchers and statements of funds on hand as of July 31st, 2017 be accepted as submitted.
Second.
Hache.
Yes.
Seaton.
Yes.
Voigt.
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
And Newton.
Yes. I move that the Village Council minutes of January 25th, February 1st, March 1st, May 10th, June 14th, and July 12th, 2017, having been reviewed by the Village Council and now available in the Village Clerk's office, be approved as submitted.
Second.
Hache.
Yes.
Seaton.
Yes.
Voigt.
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
And Newton.
Yes. And we'll have three proclamations. We'll start with Deputy Mayor Seaton. Drive sober or get pulled over.
Whereas impaired drivers on our nation's roads kill someone every 53 minutes and more than 10,000 people die each year. And whereas in 2015, there were 10,265 people killed in drunk driving crashes in New Jersey, up 3.2% from 2014. And whereas approximately one-third of all traffic crashes in the United States involve drunk drivers. And whereas impaired driving crashes cost the United States almost $45 billion a year. And whereas 29% of motor vehicle fatalities in New Jersey in 2014 were alcohol-related. And whereas an enforcement crackdown launched nationally in 1999 is planned to combat drunk driving during the busiest travel times of the year through sobriety-effective checkpoints and wandering patrols. And whereas the summer season and Labor Day holiday in particular are traditionally times of social gatherings which include alcohol. And whereas the State of New Jersey Division of Highway Traffic Safety provides grants to local law enforcement agencies throughout New Jersey, enabling and encouraging them to participate in the Drive Sober or Get Pulled Over 2017 statewide crackdown, which runs from August 18th through September 4th, 2017. And whereas an increase in impaired driving enforcement and a reduction in impaired driving will save lives on our roadways. Now therefore be it resolved that the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood pledges to increase awareness of the dangers of drinking and driving through their support of the Drive Sober or Get Pulled Over 2017 statewide crackdown, August 18th, 2017 through September 4th, 2017 in the Village of Ridgewood, and asks that all residents join together in supporting this initiative.
Thank you. And a proclamation for Ovarian Cancer Awareness Month. Councilwoman Walsh.
Whereas ovarian cancer is called the silent killer because its symptoms are often vague or subtle, making ovarian cancer a leading cause of cancer death among women and the leading cause of gynecologic cancer death in the United States. And whereas more than 20,000 women in the United States are diagnosed in the early stages of the disease and approximately 15,000 women die from it each year. And whereas the Kaleidoscope of Hope Foundation, KOH, a local nonprofit group founded by Gail McNeil of Chatham Township, who was inspired by her own experiences, raises funds for ovarian cancer research and increases awareness of the disease and its symptoms, and wishes to remind the public that September is Ovarian Cancer Awareness Month. And whereas KOH has partnered with the National Ovarian Cancer Coalition, NOCC, to support the Turn the Towns Teal campaign. And whereas there is no early detection test for ovarian cancer, which is why the Turn the Towns Teal campaign is so very critical in promoting awareness of the symptoms of ovarian cancer, fighting the disease, and supporting the women who bravely carry on the fight. Now therefore be it resolved that the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood calls upon citizens to raise ovarian cancer awareness, which will help Americans live longer, healthier lives, and hereby proclaims September 2017 as Ovarian Cancer Awareness Month, as we rededicate ourselves to the pursuit of new and better ways to prevent, detect, and treat this devastating disease.
Thank you. And National Preparedness Month, Councilman Voigt will read.
Whereas National Preparedness Month creates an important opportunity for every resident of the Village of Ridgewood to prepare their homes, businesses, schools, institutions of higher learning, houses of worship, and community-based organizations for any type of emergency, including natural disasters and potential terrorist attacks. And whereas investing in preparedness can prepare fatalities and economic devastation in our communities and in our nation, whether the emergency is large-scale or a smaller local event, and whereas National Preparedness Month is a part of governmental effort to have federal, state, local, tribal, territorial, private, and volunteer agencies working to increase public activities in preparing for emergencies and to educate individuals on how to take action. And whereas emergency preparedness is a personal responsibility and every resident of the Village of Ridgewood is urged to make preparedness a priority, and whereas the 2017 National Preparedness Month theme, Don't Wait, Communicate, Make Your Emergency Plan Today, encourages residents to plan with their community, their family, and for their pets to stay safe and communicate during disasters. And whereas the most important step to be taken to help our local residents is being able to work together as a team to ensure that individuals, families, and communities are prepared for and will recover quickly from disasters and emergencies of any type. Now therefore be it resolved that the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood, Bergen County, New Jersey, hereby proclaims September 2017 as National Preparedness Month and encourages all residents and businesses to develop their own emergency preparedness plan and to work together to create a better prepared community.
Thank you, Councilman Voigt. And with that, we'll move on to comments from the public, not to exceed 3 minutes per person for a total of 40 minutes.
Short comments. Rorick Holiday, 374 Evergreen Place. First, on the Hudson Street garage, the public has been totally left out of any deliberations. In fact, I was shocked when I listened in on last week's Village Council meeting that Ms. Walsh and Mr. Voigt were totally out of it. I mean, they look like two deer in the headlights. I felt very sorry for them. For the record, the previous council had innumerable public meetings on the garage. One meeting after another, meeting with the architect, with the designer. We do nothing. We hear nothing of that. Only we hear about our snippets of information about the mayor is doing this, the mayor is doing that. And now I understand that he may have been asleep at the switch in the sense that now to accelerate the process, they have to claim that the Hudson Street parking lot has been, has been having long gone without attention and in need of reconstruction. Well, frankly, I don't see too many weeds growing through the parking lot. So one thing I really would like to have is for you to bring in the public into your deliberations. If your mind is made up to use Pike, so be it. Okay, but let the people know. This is one comment. The other comment concerns Health Barn. Again, I have no axe to grind other than the fact being in agriculture. I'm really, really happy to see kids learn how to plant things and to grow things. And Madam Mayor, you voted against the Health Barn because you wanted to preserve the quality of life in Ridgewood. I remember the exact words that you used. Well, I tell you, to preserve the quality of life in Ridgewood, getting the kids off their tablets is one way of doing it. But anyway, this is the second week in a row that the council is discussing the Health Barn in closed session. Why is that? What is going on? If any of the neighbors is having a conflict with Health Barn's operations, why don't they just openly present their concerns to the community? Have them show up and tell us exactly what it is they're worried about. I also understand that certain neighbors have take photographs of children at drop-off and pickup. I find this to be totally disturbing, and I'm not sure if it is not illegal. And I would like Mr. Rogers to tell me, people going around taking pictures of children when they don't have their parents' permission is not illegal or not. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Good evening, Jacqueline Home, 30 Carriage Lane. I'm here to continue to speak about Shedler Cleanup Phase 1. Last meeting, I was kind of caught off guard that there was a bid that was already prepared, and it was in the amount of $99,000. I want to add to the statement that I gave last week, which was that $99,000 is a lot of money for what we expected to be a very small cleanup. I requested since then the actual order and specifications of the work that was going to be done, because $99,000 was a lot of money. I did not receive the entire document, but in the few pages that I did receive, there were some alarming points. One being that the prehistoric artifacts would be left to the person doing the cleanup. Basically, if they find them, they're to bring it to the village's attention. Well, he's not an expert in, that I know of prehistoric artifacts, let alone identify them and sift through the dirt that he's removing. There's also another part in it that said the construction of 4-inch thick concrete sidewalks as ordered and shown in plans. This was to include excavation, bedding, formwork, joint install, which seems like a pretty elaborate plan, and we had no idea that sidewalks were going in at this stage, let alone that there were any plans, since the neighborhood had never seen them, and that I know of, it's never been discussed at this council either. There's also another part that says the garage cleanup not only includes the garage, but it includes the additional 20 feet surrounding the garage. It includes the shed, not only the shed, but an additional 100 feet surrounding the shed. There's also stabilizing a concrete entrance, which is separate and aside from the sidewalks that are being installed. That's 100 square yards of crushed stone blanketed. When you start to add these things up, it leaves very little land left. My big concern is that on the application dated 2009, and I think I've been repeating this now for 8 years, it asks specifically, are there any existing historic or potentially historic structures on the site? It was marked no. That was false. At the time, the village knew that there were potentially historic structures or any element of historic on the site, including Revolutionary War artifacts that had been found in the land. That needs to be corrected and addressed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Janice Willett, 207 Prospect Street. I just wanted to talk for a couple minutes about transparency in public notices, because I just think we could be doing a better job on that. My first example of this is the Shedler House. It's clear that there are residents who feel very strongly about restoring the Shedler House, and I think a lot of the rest of us are kind of resigned to going along with it, provided it doesn't cost too much. The outstanding grant applications are for half the anticipated total cost of $633,000. But there was language introduced at the very end when the Phase 2 application was approved, and that was for $200,000, to the effect that if the grant was not approved in the amount requested, the village would make up the difference. So I assume that if the grants are not approved at all, village taxpayers could be on the hook for the entire $633,000 to renovate a house that really has no designated purpose at this point. I don't believe that a majority of our residents would go along with that proposition. But at the very least, I mean, again, I'm talking about transparency and public notices. I think we should give people a chance to either support or oppose the actual amount that could be spent. And my other example of this of lack of transparency is in the blue and white contract proposals. So I read through both contracts as detailed in the Ridgewood News, and we have them photocopied tonight. But I didn't see anything anywhere about the cost of living increases, and I asked the village manager about it, and she said that those increases are not normally included in the public notice. And that's fine if we haven't normally done it. I'm not, nobody's pointing fingers here, but I just think that those increases are arguably what residents are most interested in. So I think going forward, we should include those increases in our public notices of the various contracts. And I hope that we would also include them in the police and fire contracts when those are renegotiated. Thank you.
Hello. Elizabeth Rodinger, 250 Hillcrest Road. This just came to my attention today, so please forgive me if I don't have all the facts, but because it's the middle of the summer and a lot of parents are away, I wanted to make sure that I did come here to express my concerns a little closer.
Yes, please, thanks.
So I'd like to ask you to delay voting on the traffic changes on West Ridgewood Avenue until there have been more public discussions with all the families that are involved. I believe that every time we prohibit or limit parking near points of gathering, such as schools, we only push the problem to another area. The problem is not solved. Students from all over Ridgewood attend Ridge School. A lucky few can walk, some take the bus, and others are driven by their parents. These parents are often on their way to work, they're dropping off other children at other schools, and may also have other personal reasons that they cannot walk their children to school. The size of their cars, their family schedules, their parenting choices are not for us to judge. The reality is that 400 children need to arrive at school in a 15-minute window. That's not going to change. Midland Park closed off their adjacent streets 2 years ago, pushing parents to park elsewhere. Clinton Avenue is closed to traffic. Ridgewood Avenue is a busy street. All of these factors work against drop-off at Ridge School. Let's not make it more difficult. Let's work together to come up with a solution, most likely imperfect because Ridgewood Avenue will always be a busy street, but let's make a solution that's best for the most amount of parents. And finally, we always have to remember too that this situation on Ridgewood Avenue is for 15 minutes a day, twice a day, for 182 or 3 days of the year. And we're putting in a solution for a small problem, I believe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Dan Fishbein. I'm the superintendent of schools, 49 Cottage Place. On behalf of the Board of Ed, I'd like to thank the council for considering ordinances 3611 and 3612. They will help us with safety on our campuses and also deter people who would like to send their children to our schools illegally. And it'll give us one more thing in our tool chest to fight that. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Fishbein.
Charlie Nowinski, 2 Betty Court. Hi. I learned
Just bring the microphone up, please.
Sure.
That's perfect.
I just recently learned, as of last night, about the cleanup. And I came up here last year, and when we were discussing the cleanup, as a group, we asked about the scope, and we asked for the dead trees to be marked out. I understand that in the RFP, the contractor has to provide an arborist to do this. The concern is, if you go back there, there is a lane that you can drive a truck through, and you can get to probably 70%, 75% of the trees that are dead, that are leaning, and so forth. The concern is that the contractor then, to get to areas that are remote, that are dead on the ground, is going to take down trees could take down trees that are live to get to those other trees. To save cost for bringing, going out to get the material, cutting up the trees and maybe transporting them with a bobcat or whatever, but wouldn't be able to bring a big truck to those areas. And to do that, the only way you can do that is taking down live trees. And it's pretty obvious if you walk the property that that can happen. So I know in this town we're all up in arms about trees, right? And we're worried about, I don't know, a few trees at the train station. This could, really affect the live trees. Now, I suggest, and I don't know, I would hope the town people can explain to you tonight, I think a penalty should be in place if the contractor takes a live tree down. And it has to be a very strong penalty, something like $5,000 or $10,000. You've got to make it so that he doesn't do it. That's what I'm suggesting. And being that we didn't see this RFP and comment on it, I know it's late, but I'm hoping that you can think about this and avoid more trees coming down that don't have to come down.
Thank you, Charlie. Anyone else? Okay.
I'd just like to comment on Mr. Nowinski's point. I do want to let you know that the contractor has agreed to mark the trees that are going to be removed, and then there will be a 3-day period within which neighbors and members of the Shedler Ad Hoc Committee can look at it, and then they will then together collectively make a decision. So it isn't that they're just going to go in willy-nilly and remove trees, and so hopefully that gives you some assurances that.
Okay. Charlie, you can't kind of shout out from the back, but I'm going to continue on that because the two resolutions, 17-230 and 17-231, Title 59 approval for initial cleanup Phase 1 Shedler property and award contract initial cleanup Phase 1 Shedler property at the 99875 have been removed from the consent agenda, and we will take those up at a later date. And what we're going to do in the interim is, because we have a Shedler Ad Hoc Committee that's been put in place, and it's a really solid group of residents, led by the Deputy Mayor and Councilman Hache, and so they're going to evaluate the bid and the whole process and to better understand how they would proceed, and if there's any changes or safeguards that should be put in place to ensure that the canopy is respected and that we allow this to kind of grow and bloom again, if you will. So we're all good. That's off. I did want to speak to the suggestion of lack of transparency. Our notices are provided in the paper as required by law with all the information as necessary and as stipulated by law. The agendas are posted on the village website. The ordinances are first introduced. There's a time period that has to go by before it can be subject to a public hearing. I post the agendas on my Facebook page. I send them to hundreds of residents with agendas and with notes and recaps of what each item is as best I can. To suggest that there's any lack of transparency is simply wrong, and I would take umbrage with that. So we work very hard here, so any such statement is not right. And then with that, we'll be moving on to the village manager's report.
Okay. The Office of the Bergen County Clerk in Hackensack provides various services daily to the public. They are setting up a satellite office here in Ridgewood in the Annie Zuzi Youth Center, which is on the ground floor of this building, on September 12th, 13th, and 14th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. The county clerk's office will accept passport applications as well as take photos for the passports, file business trade names, issue notary oaths, and issue photo cards for veterans, senior citizens, and exempt firefighters. Taking advantage of this special satellite office will save you a trip to Hackensack. The Ridgewood Day Camp ended last Friday. This Ridgewood Recreation Program had another successful season with over 450 children participating. Each year, a wide variety of experience and camaraderie are offered in this 6-week program. Seniors at Graydon Pool. Age-friendly Ridgewood purchased 21 season memberships for Ridgewood seniors to become members of Graydon Pool this season. Senior Tuesdays at Graydon for free admission to Graydon Pool actually had only one participant. There were no requests for free transportation to Graydon. We are evaluating this program to identify any additional assistance that can be provided. The Parks and Recreation Department is partnering with several businesses this fall to provide recreation opportunities for Ridgewood's youth. Some of the programs are Sports for Squirts, which does t-ball, soccer, flag football, and lacrosse, U.S. Sports Institute fall lacrosse, fall t-ball, Skyhawks youth golf, pony share, introduction to safety on and around ponies, including basic riding and grooming skills. There is also a music program for preschoolers to introduce rock music and science with a hands-on use of synthesizers, guitars, and other unique instruments, discovering the sounds they deliver. There's a new senior bus route that's going to begin on September 6th. The new route will provide round-trip transportation to Ramsey Interstate Mall, where there is a wide variety of shopping opportunities. This is a reservation-only service that will start between 9:30 to 10:30 a.m. and end between 12:30 and 1:30 p.m. We are grateful to Age-Friendly Ridgewood and Beth Abbott for financial support of this pilot program running to the end of this year. Reservations are accepted by calling 201-670-5500, extension 203. 10 is the maximum number of reservations per day. Movies on the beach at Graydon Pool this Friday, August 11th, will be Happy Feet. Bring a flashlight, a folding chair, or a blanket. Water's Edge Cafe will be open for special movie treats, including popcorn, candies, ice cream, and beverage. Admission is $5 per person. Please bring cash only. Chamber of Commerce Summertime Restaurant Week 2017 begins August 13th to the 17th and continues August 20th to the 24th. For these 10 days, participating restaurants are offering you the chance to experience dining in Ridgewood like never before. Each business will prepare a 3-course prefix menu for you at $30.12 plus tax, tip, and beverage. We have a variety of restaurants participating, and we'll put that on our website. The Ridgewood Guild sponsors Music in the Night and Art in the Park programs every Friday night. It's various music throughout the CBD and artworks for sale at Memorial Park at Van Ness Square, benefiting the Ridgewood Guild. This program continues through September 1st. The Ridgewood Guild also shows movies in the park at Memorial Park at Van Ness Square. Tonight the movie is Moonstruck. It's the 30th anniversary of that movie. And the final movie of the season will be Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, which will be Wednesday, August 23rd. Bring a chair and enjoy the free movie.
Thank you. Did you say the movie was Happy Feet?
That's the one at Graydon Pool, yes.
That's how I knew Moonstruck.
It's a great,
Okay,
yeah,
that's great. Thank you. Okay, council reports. Councilman Boyd.
Nothing to report. Thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor.
Very briefly, the Shedler Ad Hoc Committee met last week, and we did a walkthrough of the property. And I'd just like to thank our planning representative on the committee, Isabella Altano. She was good enough to arrange for our village traffic engineer to join everyone during the walkthrough. So his observations are obviously valuable. They're pretty interesting. Some of the general observations he made about Route 17 is now is probably the loudest it's going to be all year because there's less traffic on the road, so cars are moving faster, and faster moving vehicles are louder. And when traffic gets busier, of course, and it's either crawling or stopped on Route 17, the other issue you have is the pollution and particulate and fumes that are being dumped into the air. So he's basically saying the buffer is of paramount importance for the residents in that neighborhood. He had other observations, and I think it was a really good walkthrough. So we're moving along and still gathering information, and going to have a plan hopefully in the coming weeks and months that we could begin to present to the public. And that's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Walsh.
Good evening. I just have Ridgewood Arts Council. We have our next artist series on Thursday, August 17th at the Stable. It's from 7 to 9 p.m. and it is going to be Ridgewood resident Drew Martin along with Michael Thompson, and it's going to be a nice evening. I don't know if anybody saw the paper this past week. There was a little write-up for Drew in there, and a little story about how he drew his artwork. So get there. It's only a 2-hour time frame, so I want to make sure that everybody gets there at 7 so we can get started. And that's all we have.
Thank you. Councilman Hache?
Nothing to report.
I just have a couple of things. HPC meets tomorrow evening in the garden room at, actually, usually we meet at 8 p.m. Tomorrow we'll be meeting at 7:30. We have a full agenda, some signage for Novo, an addition for a home on Van Deen, proposed sign for Glow Skincare, and a minor subdivision and C variance for a lot at 246 Mountain Road, which is in a historic district. Just let me go to my calendar here. I believe next week, up on deck at the planning board, is the Enclave, is that right? And I believe that arrangements have been made for that meeting to be televised. Wednesday, the 16th, is Community Relations Advisory Board in the downstairs, again, in the garden room. And please just check the calendar on this, but access should also be Thursday evening, the 17th. And once again, Community Access Network has been kind enough to incorporate the stigma-free initiative into their programming, and it's really been a godsend for all of us, and it's very generous of the folks at Access to do that, because on a regular basis they face their own day-to-day challenges with special needs family members, and so this is really a wonderful thing. So thank you, Access. And with that, oh wait, I'm sorry, one more thing on a personal note. Does anyone mind if I wish my mother a happy birthday? Friday, 81. Okay, moving on to Ridgewood Water Ordinances. Let's see. I move the clerk read ordinance 3606 by title on second reading and that the public hearing thereon be open.
Second.
Hache?
Yes.
Seaton?
Yes.
Voigt?
Yes.
Walsh?
Yes.
And Newton.
Yes, will the clerk please read the title of ordinance 3606?
An ordinance appropriating $1,600,000 from the Water Utility Capital Fund for the acquisition of property in and by the Village of Ridgewood in the County of Bergen, New Jersey.
The public hearing is now open.
Good evening again. Janice Willett, 207 Prospect Street. I do agree that at first blush it seems like an interesting opportunity to be able to add to the municipal campus by buying the Elks Club. But I guess I think that most residents would actually prefer that we make better use of the space that we already have rather than adding more space. And I'm not sure there's a need to spend $1.6 million or whatever the amount is to buy the Elks Club to house the water department, which does not seem to me to need to have office space on relatively expensive centrally located property. There's not enough parking behind the Elks Club, so it seems to me there will be spillover into the library lot, which will only add to the traffic and congestion in that area. I know the footprint study has been mentioned several times, but my understanding is it wasn't a real study, it was more of a wish list. And with most companies in the private sector now looking for ways to reduce office space, either by providing smaller offices or sharing offices, hoteling or holding virtual meetings, it doesn't make sense that the Village of Ridgewood should go against trend and try to expand its footprint. And the funds for this purchase are coming from the water utility. It strikes me that we should be using that money to upgrade our water infrastructure. I thought there was a $40 million infrastructure spending plan for the water utility. It doesn't seem right to me to divert $1.6 million to this purchase, especially in light of the recent court case. So, and I know that 2 council members opposed the Elks Club purchase, and I'm really hoping that at least 1 more council member will follow suit. Thank you.
Thank you. Yep. All right, okay, excuse me. Thank you. Okay. All right. I move the public hearing be closed.
Second.
Hache?
Yes.
Seaton?
Yes.
Voigt?
Yes.
Walsh?
Yes.
And Newton.
Yes.
I move that ordinance 3606 be adopted on second reading and final publication as required by law.
Second.
Hache?
Yes.
Seaton?
Yes.
Voigt?
No, but I want to explain, if that's okay. I'm tremendously concerned about the forensic accountant that we hired and the amount of money that we may have to pay in this lawsuit. And my thinking is we need as much money as possible. simply because we're really unclear as to how much we may owe the other municipalities, and I think using that $1.6 million may deplete the current assets we have on the balance sheet, which I think were about 9 or 10 million. So my vote is no.
Okay. Walsh
No.
and Newton.
Yes.
Okay, the following resolutions, numbered 17-226 through 17-227, will be adopted by a consent agenda with one vote by the village council. They will be read by title only. Award contract under National Joint Powers Alliance Program backhoe loader. Award contract under state contract Ford F-250 pickup truck.
I move.
Second.
Hold on just a second. Hache,
Yes.
Seaton,
Yes.
Voight,
Yes.
Walsh,
Yes.
and Newton.
Yes. So before we move on, I think Councilman Walsh, okay, will be recusing.
Okay, for the next two resolutions, Councilwoman Walsh is going to recuse herself, so they'll be read in full. Whereas there exists a need for professional engineering services associated with evaluation of sewage treatment changes and associated work, and whereas the local public contracts law, NJSA 48:11-1 at SEC, requires the resolution authorizing the award of contracts for professional services without competitive bids, and the contract itself must be available for public inspection. And whereas the village council is satisfied that the firm of Mott McDonald is qualified to render the services required, now therefore be it resolved by the village council of the village of Ridgewood, the mayor and village clerk are hereby authorized and directed to execute a contract for the evaluation of sewage treatment changes and associated work to Mott McDonald, 111 Wood Avenue South, Isla, New Jersey, in the amount not to exceed $177,300. This contract is awarded without competitive bidding as a professional service under a non-fair and open contract in accord with NJSA 40A:11-51A of the local public contracts law. A notice of this action in accord with the aforementioned statute shall be published in the Ridgewood News. And be it further resolved that the chief financial officer has certified that funds are available in account number 7-05-55-511-550. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Hache,
Yes.
Seaton,
Yes.
Voight,
Yes.
Walsh is recusing herself, and Newton.
Yes.
And then the next one, whereas there exists a need for professional services associated with evaluation of sewage treatment changes and associated work, and whereas the local public contracts law, NJSA 48:11-1 at SEC, requires that the resolution authorizing the award of contracts for professional services without competitive bids and the contract itself must be available for public inspection. And whereas the village council is satisfied that the firm of Lewis Goldshore Esquire is qualified to render the services required, now therefore be it resolved by the village council of the village of Ridgewood, the mayor and village clerk are hereby authorized and directed to execute a contract for the professional services associated with evaluation of sewage treatment changes and associated work under a non-fair and open contract to Lewis Goldshore Esquire, 70 Cedar Lane, Princeton, New Jersey, in the amount of $200 an hour in an amount not to exceed $40,000. This contract is awarded without competitive bidding as professional service in accord with NJSA 48:11-51A of the local public contracts law. A notice of this action in accord with the aforementioned statute shall be published in the Ridgewood News. Be further resolved that the chief financial officer has certified that funds are available in account number 7-05-55-505-550. Okay. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Hache,
Yes.
Seaton,
Yes.
Voight,
Yes.
Walsh is recusing, and Newton.
Oh, did you call me? I'm
Yes.
sorry. Yeah, yes,
Okay.
absolutely. Yes,
Thank you.
of course. And Councilman Walsh is back, and we missed her. Okay. Okay, moving on. I move the clerk read ordinance 3607 by title on second reading at the public hearing thereon be open.
Second.
Hache,
Yes.
Seaton,
Yes.
Voight,
Yes.
Walsh,
Yes.
and Newton.
Yes, will the clerk please read the title of ordinance 3607?
An ordinance to fix salaries, wages, and other compensation of and for blue-collar employees of the Village of Ridgewood, County of Bergen, and State of New Jersey.
Public hearing is now open. Okay, I move the public hearing be closed.
Second.
Hache.
Yes.
Sedin.
Yes.
Voigt.
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
And Newton.
Yes.
I move that ordinance 3607 be adopted on second reading and final publication as required by law.
Second.
Hache.
Yes.
Sedin.
Yes.
Voigt.
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
And Newton.
Yes. I move the clerk read ordinance 3608 by title on second reading and the public hearing thereon be open.
Second.
Hache.
Yes.
Sedin.
Yes.
Voigt.
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
And Newton.
Yes. Will the clerk please read the title of ordinance 3608?
An ordinance to fix salaries, wages, and other compensation of and for the white-collar employees of the Village of Ridgewood, County of Bergen, and State of New Jersey.
Public hearing is now open. I move the public hearing be closed.
Second.
Hache.
Yes.
Sedin.
Yes.
Voigt.
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
And Newton.
Yes.
I move that ordinance 3608 be adopted on second reading and final publication as required by law.
Second.
Hache.
Yes.
Sedin.
Yes.
Voigt.
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
And Newton.
Yes. I move the clerk read ordinance 3609 by title on second reading and the public hearing thereon be open.
Second.
Hache.
Yes.
Sedin.
Yes.
Voigt.
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
And Newton.
Yes. Will the clerk please read the title of ordinance 3609?
An ordinance to amend Chapter 145 of the Code of the Village of Ridgewood fees at Section 145-6, enumeration of fees relating to code chapters.
Public hearing is now open. I move the public hearing be closed.
Second.
Hache.
Yes.
Sedin.
Yes.
Voigt.
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
And Newton.
Yes.
I move that ordinance 3609 be adopted on second reading and final publication as required by law.
Second.
Hache.
Yes.
Sedin.
Yes.
Voigt.
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
And Newton.
Yes. I move the clerk read ordinance 3610 by title on second reading and that the public hearing thereon be open.
Second.
Hache.
Yes.
Sedin.
Yes.
Voigt.
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
And Newton.
Yes. Will the clerk please read the title of ordinance 3610?
An ordinance to amend Chapter 265 of the Code of the Village of Ridgewood Vehicles and Traffic at Section 265-66, no stopping or standing.
Okay, the public hearing is now open. I move the public hearing be closed.
Second.
Hache.
Yes.
Sedin.
Yes.
Voigt.
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
And Newton.
Yes.
I move that ordinance 3610 be adopted on second reading and final publication as required by law.
Second.
Hache.
Yes.
Sedin.
Yes.
Voigt.
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
And Newton.
Yes. I move the clerk read ordinance 3611 by title on second reading and the public hearing thereon be open.
Second.
Hache.
Yes.
Sedin.
Yes.
Voigt.
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
And Newton.
Yes. Will the clerk please read the title of ordinance 3611?
An ordinance to authorize the provisions of NJSA 39:5A-1 to be applicable to all of the premises and property owned and operated by the Ridgewood Public Schools, subject to the approval of the Commissioner of Transportation of the State of New Jersey.
The public hearing is now open. I move the public hearing be closed.
Second.
Hache.
Yes.
Sedin.
Yes.
Voigt.
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
And Newton.
Yes.
I move that ordinance 3611 be adopted on second reading and final publication as required by law.
Second.
Hache.
Yes.
Sedin.
Yes.
Voigt.
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
Newton.
Yes. I move the clerk read ordinance 3612 by title on second reading and the public hearing thereon be open.
Second.
Hache.
Yes.
Sedin.
Yes.
Voigt.
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
And Newton.
Yes. Will the clerk please read the title of ordinance 3612?
An ordinance to prevent the unlawful enrollment of school children in the Ridgewood Public School System and to provide penalties therefor.
Public hearing is now open. I move the public hearing be closed.
Second.
Hache.
Yes.
Sedin.
Yes.
Voigt.
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
And Newton.
Yes.
I move that ordinance 3612 be adopted on second reading and final publication as required by law.
Second.
Hache.
Yes.
Sedin.
Yes.
Voigt.
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
And Newton.
Yes. I move the clerk read ordinance 3574 by title.
Second.
Hache.
Yes.
Sedin.
Yes.
Voigt.
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
And Newton.
Yes. Will the clerk please read the title of ordinance 3574?
A bond ordinance providing for water distribution system improvements in and by the Village of Ridgewood in the County of Bergen, New Jersey, appropriating $1,350,000 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $1,280,000 bonds or notes of the village to finance part of the cost thereof. I do want to explain that Ordinance 3574 is being voted on again this evening in order to correct a procedural error with sending the supplemental debt statement to the Division of Local Government Services in the state of New Jersey. By way of background, Ordinance 3574 was adopted unanimously, with the exception of Councilwoman Walsh, who was absent on January 25th, 2017. There was a procedural error in that the supplemental debt statement, which must be prepared for every bond ordinance and filed with the village clerk and the Division of Local Government Services, was sent to the Division of Local Government Services, but was not received by them. Once the village was notified by the Division of Local Government Services that they did not receive the supplemental debt statement, it was sent to them again, but it was after Ordinance 3574 was adopted, which was too late. Therefore, the Village Council will be voting again to re-adopt Ordinance 3574 so that the supplemental debt statement is properly filed in a timely manner.
I move that Ordinance 3574 be re-adopted to correct a procedural error and final publication as required by law.
Second.
Hache?
Yes.
Seaton?
Yes.
Voigt?
Yes.
Walsh?
Yes.
And Newton.
Yes, I move the clerk read ordinance 3577 by title.
Second.
Hache?
Yes.
Seaton?
Yes.
Voigt?
Yes.
Walsh?
Yes.
And Newton.
Yes, will the clerk please read the title of ordinance 3577?
Bond ordinance providing for various capital improvements in and by the Village of Ridgewood in the County of Bergen, New Jersey, appropriating $1,537,000 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $1,460,000 bonds or notes of the village to finance part of the cost thereof. Ordinance number 3577 is also being voted on again this evening in order to correct a procedural error with sending the supplemental debt statement to the Division of Local Government Services. Again, 3577 was adopted unanimously with the exception of Councilwoman Walsh, who was absent on January 25th, 2017. There was a procedural error in that the supplemental debt statement, which was prepared, was not received by the Division of Local Government Services, even though it was sent to them. Once the village was notified by the Division of Local Government Services that they did not receive the supplemental debt statement, it was sent to them again, but it was after Ordinance 3577 was adopted, which was too late. Therefore, the Village Council will be voting again to re-adopt Ordinance 3577 so that the supplemental debt statement is properly filed in a timely manner.
I move that ordinance 3577 be re-adopted to correct a procedural error and final publication as required by law.
Second.
Hache?
Yes.
Seaton?
Yes.
Voigt?
Yes.
Walsh?
Yes.
And Newton.
Yes, I move the clerk read ordinance 3605 by title on third reading.
Second.
Hache?
Yes.
Seaton?
Yes.
Voigt?
Yes.
Walsh?
Yes.
And Newton.
Yes, will the clerk please read the title of ordinance 3605?
An ordinance to amend Chapter 260 of the Code of the Village of Ridgewood, Trees and Shrubs.
Ordinance 3605 was introduced at a special public meeting on June 28, 2017. The public hearing on the ordinance 3605 was held on July 12, 2017, and was closed. At the time, the Village Council moved to continue the final vote on ordinance 3605 to tonight's meeting.
I move that ordinance 3605 be adopted and final publication is required by law.
Second.
Hache?
Yes.
Seaton?
Abstain.
Voigt?
No.
Walsh?
No.
And Newton.
So we have two, no.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm just writing down the votes. Just one sec, okay?
Sorry about that.
Okay. Okay. So as we mentioned, as the mayor mentioned earlier, resolution 17-230 and 17-231 are being removed from tonight's agenda and will be considered in the future after review of the specs and more information is given to the councilmen who are the representatives for the council on the ad hoc committee. So we begin with Resolution 17-232 through 17-245, with the exception of Resolution 17-242, which is actually removed from the consent agenda. All of those resolutions, with the exception of 242, will be adopted by consent agenda with one vote by the village council, and they will be read by title only. Award contract under Houston Galveston Area Council Cooperative Purchasing Program, 2017 Ford F-550 Type 1 Horton Ambulance. Award contract under state contract Ford F-350 Extended Cab Pickup Truck Parks Department. Award contract under state contract furniture for conference room at Village Hall. Award professional services contract auditing and accounting services. Award professional services contract parking garage allocation study, 240 car parking garage for Hudson Street Lot. Award contract parking kiosk program for 6-month pilot study at the Chestnut Street parking lot. Declare 1989 Pierce Fire Engine surplus property. Declare police 2005 Ford Crown Victoria surplus property. Authorize execution of lease extension cell tower at Water Pollution Control Facility. Approve dedication of memorial bench on Dunham Trail for Andy Antista. Award professional services contract, professional planning services to conduct a study for redevelopment of the Hudson Street parking lot. Authorize payment of settlement for sewer backup claim 115 Bel Air Road. Reject bids, Central Valet Parking Service. May I have a motion for the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Hache?
Yes.
Seaton?
Yes.
Voigt?
Yes.
Walsh?
Yes.
And Newton.
Yes.
The final resolution, 17-242, will be read in full. Whereas the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood seeks to have a committee formed to undertake special projects and assignments where a more in-depth study and analysis provides a tangible benefit to the community. And whereas the Village Council endorses establishing a special projects task force to assist with specific short-term tasks as specified by the Village Council. And whereas the task force will be comprised of no more than 6 members of the public and shall be appointed for a term of 1 year. And whereas the Special Projects Task Force shall select a project manager for each individual assignment as authorized by the Village Council. And whereas no more than 2 members of the Village Council shall be assigned to the Special Projects Task Force for the duration of each individual assignment based on the area of study. And whereas the Village Council will be responsible for detailing the scope of each project to ensure the work product is relevant to the needs of the village. Now therefore be it resolved by the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood that the Special Projects Task Force being is hereby established. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Hache?
Yes.
Seaton?
Yes.
Voigt?
No. I just want to explain why I'm voting no. I'm just concerned. I'm not sure who wrote this, number one. And second of all, I suppose I'm the liaison to this, and this is the first time I've seen it. So my concern is that it needs more time to be digested and actually thought about. So my vote is no.
Okay. Walsh?
Yes.
And Newton.
Oh, before I vote, I just want to explain that I think it was clear that there's 1 or 2 council members assigned to each project, hence there would be no technical liaison, so, and yes.
Okay. Okay.
And with that, we're moving to comments from the public, not to exceed, this time, 5 minutes per person. Come on up. Just state your name and address.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. My name is Ted Lestrange, 6 Jeffrey Court, Otisville, that's New York. I haven't got good news, and I've titled this Genocide by Scalpel. That's the title given by one of the investigators into forced organ harvesting in China. Their updated research concludes that China's hospitals transplant between 60,000 and 100,000 vital human body organs each year. But China has no real organ and donation program. Here in the US, with the most sophisticated organ transplant system in the world, a patient can wait up to 3 years for a matching organ to become available. In China, however, the waiting time is measured in weeks. An organ transplant tourist to China, including one from the US, can arrange a specific date for their operation, which effectively means that someone would be killed on their behalf on that date. It's a cultural taboo in China to donate one's organs after death. So what's the source of all the organs? Translation of these facts equates to tens of thousands of prisoners of conscience each year being killed for their organs. Most of these prisoners of conscience are Falun Gong practitioners, but also Tibetans, Uyghurs, and house Christians. They are routinely blood tested and their organs examined while held in China's forced labor camps, detention centers, and black jails. A 1984 regulation, ironically, decrees that they and their organs become the property of the state. On June 13th last year, the U.S. House of Representatives unanimously passed Resolution 343, which, in the summary, quote, condemns the practice of state-sanctioned forced organ harvesting in China, close quote. The European Parliament has also passed similar regulations. This has been happening for over 17 years, but there's still a deathly silence on this issue. And that is why I stand before you, the elected and respected representatives of the community, to echo the heavy burden of this genocide as acknowledged by the House. China has total control of its own media and way beyond. So it comes down to this type of word of mouth to divulge what's happening. Many dedicated researchers have gathered an enormous amount of data from current and archived hospital websites, medical journals, local media reports, telephone surveys, and other evidence for the 865 hospitals in China that have performed these organ transplants. Some books are now being written and documentaries have been made with more comprehensive information. So I've prepared a little package if you'd like to, shall I give that?
Bring them on up. Okay, thank you for the information. Thank you. Okay. Anyone else?
Ann Loving, 342 South Irving Street. Just a couple of things. I don't know if you're aware, but in the audience, and I know from at home as well, the acoustics in this room continue to be very, very difficult. It was so much better when the podium used to be over there. Somehow the voices reverbed differently. I remember there was discussion when it was moved back here, but we sit in the, in the audience and we just barely can hear what anybody's saying. People at the mic, that is, not you guys. We can hear you guys. That's one thing. The second thing is regarding the air conditioning in this room. I think you could probably finance like 3 parking garages if you could cut down on the air conditioning in this room. I mean, to have to put on a sweater in the shank of summer to come here, just a thought. The next thing, I had a question. I know this is not a time when you can answer questions, but I had a question about emails that go to the village council attorney. I've certainly sent some myself, in the past, but is there a billing that occurs when an email is sent by a member of the public to the village council attorney, or also if the village council attorney has to reply? If so, I think that people ought to know about that, just so that they could think twice before automatically, including the village council attorney. It'd be good to know that. Lastly, regards Resolution 1742, the Special Projects Task Force. That was presented last week at the work session, right? You guys discussed it at length. We got to hear a lot about it. It was kind of odd to hear that, that it was unfamiliar to somebody, but I remember it being discussed last week. And I just wanted to clarify, does that now effectively end the Financial Advisory Committee?
Yes, this is a kind of a rebranding, and so those folks that have been so generous to donate their time and their expertise and their background and their caring for the village are going to be placed on or appointed to the Special Project Task Force.
Well, that's excellent. I think that's just great. I'm glad that the FAC served its time and it's done, and this sounds like a way better solution. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, how you doing? Jamie Perez, 20 Moulders Lane, Midland Park. I just came to find out if anyone could help me understand the Ridgewood water report. They said I could come to the meeting. I don't know if there's someone designated for that or...
Well, we have our director of the Ridgewood Water Department who's not here this evening. He's,
Was he?
What
What's the
was the question?
I don't know. Have you ever looked at it? It's kind of hard to understand what's in the water, what's a reasonable level. I mean, it's just a bunch of numbers and...
We could certainly have someone reach out to you tomorrow and
Yeah.
speak with you about it. If you want to leave me your contact information at the end of the meeting.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things here, and I was curious about why we seem to always have a water shortage every year. Especially, it seems like they're buying the water from different places. I mean, I know it's not like water's everywhere, but I never understood. Since I've been in Midland Park for the last 6 years, I mean, it's like every summer there's a drought, no water. Stop watering your grass. I was just curious if they're buying it, isn't it? Then they just buy more, or does it run out?
Yeah, so do you want to, anybody?
I
Okay.
I can just briefly say that it's done as a matter of conservation. It's not that there's a declaration of drought. It's a conservation measure that's taken every summer because the usage increases so tremendously during the summer by all the towns. And we're the only town that's adopted a conservation ordinance. None of the other towns in our water utility have. So it would be worthwhile maybe to approach Midland Park with regard to adopting a conservation ordinance.
Got it. Okay. So, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jacqueline Hone, 30 Carriage Lane. I just wanted to say thank you for removing and postponing Resolution 17230 and 17231, Shedler Phase 1 and cleanup. I also wanted to add to the mayor's comment regarding the postings of notice of meetings and information. I wanted to add that it is also posted to two of our largest Facebook community pages, which is It Takes a Ridgewood Village and Ridgewood Mom and Dads with Free Speech. In regards to that, and in conjunction with what I had said in regarding to the Shedler Phase 1 cleanup, I know that there are notices and it does alert us to these things, and then I actually did try to go to the village website to find the bid and the details of the bid, and that was not accessible online. I'm not pointing fingers. I'm sure there's a mechanism that residents could probably ask for it, but I know that in the past we've had pages specifically for large projects going on in the village, the garage, Shedler, where reports, notification to residents were uploaded to this site. So you could literally just click on the Shedler picture, for example, or the garage picture, and then there would be a series of notifications from the village to members, including scopes of projects and bids and things of that sort. The bid that I did find for Shedler, it just said to request the bid if you wanted to solicit for the work through regular mail. So it left little room other than an Oprah, but for someone like me who requested the Oprah, it didn't give enough window of time to have that information and review it for the meeting. So that's just a little note where there are notifications going out. It does meet the legal requirements, but then the nitty-gritty and the minutia of what's actually happening is getting a little difficult to get our hands on. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jackie. Anyone else? Come on up. Hello.
I'm not really familiar with this whole process, but I'm Ryan Rue. I'm from Boy Scouts Troop 5, Ridgewood, New Jersey.
Do you want to just give your address?
Excuse me?
Your home address?
335 Kenilworth Road. So I just wanted to catch up on an issue that's important to the citizens of my community. So I just wanted to see what is being done about the Mount Carmel parking lot issue. I just wanted to catch up on what's happening.
You're talking about the Hudson Street lot across from Mount Carmel? Is that what you're speaking about?
Yes.
Okay. All right. You can make a public comment and then.
Okay.
Or is that your comment?
I don't have a comment. I just had, I don't know if I'm supposed to
I think he's looking
ask.
for a status.
Okay. All right, so the status right now is that the Hudson Street lot is going through a process of a redevelopment zone study, and that will determine what direction the village council takes in terms of construction of garage. I know the lot itself, you're probably concerned because it's really pretty bad walking on it. Is that your concern?
Yeah.
Yeah? Yeah, no, I know. When the puddles, you can't even see underneath it, so yeah, I get it. So hopefully that will come to we'll have some resolution to that within the next couple of months.
Okay.
And then we'll move forward from there. So everybody just got to hold on tight.
Okay.
And walk carefully.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Come on up, Martin. Good evening.
Good evening, ladies, gentlemen. You need my name and address, or am I?
Yeah, please. We know who
Martin
you are.
Walker,
It's just anyway.
114 Cottage Place. I'm here to talk about a newspaper report on the last planning board meeting discussing a subdivision request. I believe it was on Mountain. I was present and heard the testimony in that board meeting, and I read in the report of the newspaper report that one of our council members, Jeffrey Voigt, that you suggested that there was some value to creating conforming lots on the street. I don't know whether that was a misquote or whether you believe that, but I'm very concerned about the long-term fiscal viability of the village of Ridgewood, and I'm convinced that the number of properties that contain families with children is what in the long run has the largest challenge that we have fiscally, given that 75% of our budget goes to schools. So I don't know whether, I was glad to hear that everybody voted the same way. My biggest concern is that the council be united in the long-term fiscal viability of the village and do everything possible to prevent the continual subdivisions or increase of residential properties where families with children can buy and settle. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Martin. Anyone else? Okay, just real quick questions for the village manager. Do we put bid packets online? I didn't think we ever did.
No, we don't, because, and many times, actually, bidders have to pay for them because they are so extensive. But I know what Ms. Hone's saying is when we were doing the parking garage, we had like planning board stuff, we had everything about, wherever it went,
a little bit
we had all the
though.
information
Right.
and all the hearings. So perhaps now that Shedler is up and running somewhat, we could do something with Shedler and put information up so that people could see what's going on. We could do it also with the new parking garage. We could put up information about it's being,
Right.
looked at for redevelopment.
Okay.
Things like that. And as we get more information, we can move forward from there if the council wishes to do so.
Okay. And just to Martin Walker's, I thought you left for a second there. To Martin's point, I don't think there was a vote yet. Maybe I misunderstood you. There wasn't a vote yet at the planning board level because that was referred to the HPC because that application was subject to an HPC hearing prior to being heard at the planning board level. So just procedurally, for some reason it was out of order, and that's where it'll be tomorrow night. So that's it. Okay. And with that, we'll take a resolution to go into closed session.
Okay. Be resolved by the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood that the Village Council meet in closed session on August 9th, 2017 at 8 p.m. or soon thereafter as the matter on the agenda can be reached. And the said closed session be held in the caucus room on the 4th floor of the Ridgewood Village Hall, 131 North Maple Avenue, Ridgewood, New Jersey, and be further resolved that the matters to be discussed in closed session are limited to legal matters to include COA, RCRD, Ridgewood Water, Health Barn, and contract negotiations to include town garage property. This matter is allowable under NJSA 10:4-12. Second, be further resolved that the minutes of this meeting shall be made available to the general public when such matters have been deemed completed by resolution of the Village Council. May I have a motion?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you.